The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Research Station. Harmony's rest for the third time that day. Dr. Hannah Kim ran down the metal hallway, her white lab coat flying behind her. Her heart was beating fast as she reached the special holding area. "What's wrong now?" she asked Dr. Sunho, who was standing outside the thick glass wall looking worried. "It's getting worse," Sunho said, pointing at the small dark shape in the corner of the room. "The little one hasn't eaten anything in 4 days. It won't let any of us get close." Hannah looked through the clear wall at the creature inside. It was no bigger than a house cat, but she knew what it really was: a baby Vorthok, one of the most dangerous hunters in the whole galaxy. Even as a baby, it had 6 bright blue eyes and sharp crystal claws that could cut through metal. The baby Vorthok sat in the far corner of its room, making itself as small as possible. Its black fur was dull and messy. The crystal spines on its back were sticking straight up, which meant it was scared and ready to fight. "Have you tried the Zolani again?" Hannah asked. "Yes." The moment Dr. Zelix got within 3 meters, the baby started that awful screaming sound. The noise broke to computers and gave everyone headaches for hours. Hannah rubbed her forehead. This was a disaster. The baby Vorthok had been found floating in space inside a damaged ship. Its parents were dead, and it was the only one left alive. The Galactic Science Council had sent it to their station because they were supposed to be the best at taking care of alien animals. But nobody could get near the little creature without it going crazy with fear. "What about the Thoraxians?" Hannah asked, though she already knew the answer. "Worse." The baby took one look at Dr. Thorx and tried to attack the glass wall. Its psychic scream was so loud that it made 3 people faint. The Vorthax were famous throughout the galaxy for being perfect killers. They came from a planet called Kethma, where everything tried to kill everything else. Adult Vortex could tear apart spaceships with their claws. Their psychic powers could make other creatures so scared that they couldn't move. But this was just a baby. It should have been easier to handle. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong," said a voice behind them. Hannah turned around to see Min Park walking toward them. He was the station's human engineer who fixed things when they broke. His blue work clothes were dirty with oil and grease. He was carrying a toolbox in one hand and drinking coffee from a metal cup. "What do you mean?" Hannah asked. Minho stopped next to them and looked at the baby Vorthok through the glass. "Well, think about it. This little guy just lost his family. He's alone and scared. Every time someone comes near him, his body tells him they might be dangerous." "That's exactly the problem," Sunho said. "All the different alien species seem to trigger its fear response. Our scent, our appearance, our brainwaves, something about us makes it think we're enemies." Minho took a sip of his coffee and kept looking at the baby. "Has anyone tried having a human go in there?" Both alien doctors stared at him like he had said something crazy. "A human," Hannah said slowly. "Minho, that's not safe. Vorthoks are apex predators. Even babies can be deadly. But I'm not triggering its fear response right now," Minho pointed out. "Look." They all looked through the glass. The baby Vorthok had noticed Minho. Its 6 blue eyes were focused on him, but the crystal spines on its back were starting to lower slightly. It wasn't making any of the angry or scared sounds it made when other species got close. "That's unusual," Sunho admitted. Hannah felt her heart racing again, but this time with hope instead of worry. "You know, there are stories about humans and their ability to bond with dangerous animals. Even on Earth, humans somehow made friends with wolves and big cats." "This isn't a wolf," Sunho warned. "This is a creature that could grow up to hunt starships for fun. But right now, it's just a scared baby," Minho said quietly. "And babies need someone to take care of them." The 3 of them stood in silence for a moment, watching the small creature. The baby Vorthok had moved slightly closer to the glass wall. It was still far away, but it wasn't hiding in the corner anymore. "The Galactic Council will not be happy if something happens to you," Hannah said slowly. "Something's already happening to it," Minho replied, nodding toward the baby. "If it doesn't eat soon, it's going to die." "Then what will you tell the Council?" Hannah looked at her reports. They had tried everything. The best animal experts from 5 different species had failed. The baby was getting weaker every day. It would just be for a few hours, she said, more to herself than to Minho, just to see if you can get it to eat something. What's the worst that could happen? Minho asked with a small smile. Sunho made a noise that sounded like he was choking. The worst that could happen? You could be killed by a baby apex predator. The station could be destroyed. The human government could declare war on us for letting one of their people get hurt. Or, Minho said calmly, maybe a scared baby finally gets the help it needs. Hannah looked between Minho and the baby Vorthok. The creature was now sitting near the glass, watching them. Its eyes seemed almost ... curious. The safety protocols ... double quotes, she started. I'll wear an emergency signal device, Minho said. If anything goes wrong, you can get me out of there fast, and you'll follow all safety rules. Of course. Hannah took a deep breath. Every rule in the book said this was a terrible idea. But every rule in the book had also failed to help the baby creature. All right, she said finally. But we do this carefully, very carefully. As they started walking toward the equipment room to get Minho ready, none of them noticed that the baby Vorthok had pressed itself against the glass wall. Its 6 eyes were following Minho's every movement, and for the first time in days, the crystal spines on its back were completely flat against its fur. The little creature made a soft sound, not the angry scream it made at other species, but something almost like a question, as if it was asking, "Are you the one who's going to help me?" Minho paused and looked back at the baby. "Don't worry, little guy," he said quietly. "We're going to figure this out." And somewhere deep in its young mind, the baby Vorthok understood that this strange new creature might be different from all the others. This one felt safe. 20 minutes later, Minho stood outside the baby Vorthok's room, wearing a special safety suit. The suit was thick and heavy, made to protect him from claws and teeth. A small red button on his chest would call for help if he pressed it. Dr. Hannah Kim watched him through the security cameras from the control room. Her hands were shaking as she held the microphone. "Remember, Minho," her voice came through the speakers, "no sudden moves. Keep your distance. If the creature shows any signs of attack, press the emergency button right away." "I understand," Minho said. He looked through the glass at the baby Vorthok. The little creature was sitting in the middle of the room now, watching him with all 6 blue eyes. Dr. Sunho was standing next to Hannah in the control room. "This is crazy," he whispered. "We're breaking every safety rule in the galaxy." "We've already tried everything else," Hannah replied, but her voice sounded worried. Captain Taiwan Lee from the station's security team was also watching. He had his hand on the emergency controls, ready to flood the room with sleeping gas. "If needed, Park, you sure about this?" he asked through the microphone. "As sure as I can be," Minho answered. He put his hand on the door control. Opening the door now, the thick metal door slid open with a soft hiss. Minho stepped inside the room, and the door closed behind him. Now there was nothing but air between him and one of the galaxy's most dangerous predators. Even though it was just a baby, the room was quiet except for the soft hum of the air system. Minho stood still for a moment, letting the baby Vorthok look. At him, the creature tilted its head to one side, like a curious cat. "Hello there, little guy," Minho said in a gentle voice. He slowly sat down on the floor, cross-legged. "I'm not going to hurt you." In the control room, everyone held their breath. The baby Vorthok had never let anyone get this close before. The creature took a small step toward Minho, then stopped. Its crystal spines were still flat against its back, which was a good sign. When Vorthoks were angry or scared, those spines stuck straight up. "That's it," Minho said softly. "I'm just going to sit here for a while. You don't have to come closer if you don't want to." He reached into his pocket and pulled out an energy bar, his lunch. The wrapper made a crinkling sound as he opened it. The baby Vorthok's ears perked up at the noise. "Are you hungry?" Minho asked. He broke off a small piece of the energy bar and placed it on the floor between them. Then he scooted back a little to give the creature space. The baby Vorthok stared at the food for a long moment. Its nose twitched as it smelled the energy bar. Slowly, very slowly, it crept forward. "Easy does it," Minho whispered. In the control room, Dr. Hannah could barely breathe. "It's actually approaching him," she said in amazement. The baby reached the piece of food and sniffed it carefully. Then, quick as lightning, it grabbed the food and jumped back. But instead of running to the corner like it usually did, it only moved a few steps away. "Good job," Minho said, with a small smile. "Was that tasty?" The creature chewed the food, then looked at Minho again. This time, it didn't back away when he moved. Minho slowly pulled out another piece of the energy bar. "Want some more?" he asked. This time, the baby Vorthok came closer before Minho even put the food down. When Minho held out the piece, the creature very gently took it from his fingers. "Oh my goodness," Dr. Sunho whispered from the control room. "It's eating from his hand." But the most amazing thing happened next. As the baby ate, it made a soft, rumbling sound deep in its chest. It was the first time anyone had heard a Vorthok make a happy noise. "I think it's purring," Minho said, wonder in his voice. For the next hour, Minho sat on the floor sharing his lunch with the baby creature. The Vorthok got braver and braver, until it was sitting just an arm's length away from him. "You're not so scary," Minho told it. "You're just lonely, aren't you?" The baby tilted its head again, as if it understood his words. Minho yawned. The excitement and stress of the day were catching up with him. "I'm getting pretty tired," he admitted. He leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes for just a moment. The energy bar had made him feel full and sleepy. In the control room, everyone watched as Minho's breathing became slow and steady. He had fallen asleep. "Should we wake him up?" Captain Taiwan asked. "Wait," Dr. Hannah said. "Look at the baby." The young Vorthok was watching Minho sleep. It crept closer and closer until it was right next to him. Then, very carefully, it curled up against Minho's side. The soft purring sound got louder. "It's using him as a pillow," Dr. Sunho said in disbelief. "More than that," Dr. Hannah replied, looking at her instruments. "Look at the psychic readings." The computers that measured psychic energy were showing something incredible. The baby Vorthok's mental field, which had been sharp and angry for days, was now calm and peaceful. The energy it was sending out felt warm and safe. "It's bonding with him," Dr. Hannah whispered. 3 hours later, Captain Taiwan decided he needed to check on them in person. He quietly opened the door to the room and looked inside. Minho was still asleep against the wall. The baby Vorthok was curled up on his chest like a cat, also sleeping peacefully. One of Minho's hands was resting gently on the creature's back. "Park," Captain Taiwan called softly. "Minho, wake up." Minho's eyes opened slowly. He looked down at the baby on his chest and smiled. "Well, hello there," he whispered to the creature. The baby opened its 6 blue eyes and looked up at him. Its purring got louder, and it rubbed its head against Minho's chin like an affectionate pet. "Park, you magnificent idiot," Captain Taiwan said, shaking his head. "You've just made yourself the first human to successfully befriend a galactic apex predator." As if it understood the captain's words, the baby Vorthok looked at Taiwan and made a soft chirping sound. Not angry or scared, just saying hello. "I think," Minho said, gently stroking the creature's fur. "This little guy just needed someone to care about him." From that moment on, everything changed. The baby Vorthok, whom Minho started calling Buddy, refused to leave his side. When Minho had to go back to work, Buddy followed him. When Minho went to eat dinner, Buddy sat next to his chair. The galaxy's most feared predator had decided that a human engineer was his new family, and nobody knew what to do about it. 2 weeks had passed since Minho first entered Buddy's room. What started as a simple babysitting job had become something nobody expected. The baby Vorthok now followed Minho everywhere he went on the space station. Dr. Kyung-soo, the station's mind doctor, watched through her office window as Minho walked down the hallway with Buddy trotting beside him. The little creature had grown bigger now, about the size of a medium dog. Its crystal spines sparkled blue in the hallway lights. "This is not normal animal behavior," she said into her recording device. "The Vorthok shows classic signs of what we call filial imprinting. It believes Minho is its parent." She had been studying Buddy for days, trying to understand what was happening. Every test showed the same thing. The baby's brain was developing faster than any Vorthok brain on record. "Computer, play back yesterday's footage from engineering. Bay 3, she said. The screen showed Minho fixing a broken machine while Buddy sat nearby. When Minho needed a tool, he would point at it. Buddy would pick up the tool in his mouth and bring it to him. "Good boy, Buddy," Minho's voice said on the recording. "Now, can you get me the small wrench?" Buddy looked at all the tools, then carefully picked up the right one. Dr. Kyung-soo stopped the recording. "Impossible," she whispered. "Vorthaks don't have the brain power for complex tool recognition, but this one is learning like a human child." Down in the engineering section, Minho was having his own surprises. He was trying to fix a broken pipe when Buddy suddenly sat up straight. The creature's 6 eyes all focused on one spot on the wall. "What is it, boy?" Minho asked. Buddy made a low growling sound and pointed with his nose at the wall. Minho looked but couldn't see anything wrong. "There's nothing there, Buddy," he said. But Buddy kept staring and growling. Finally, Minho decided to check anyway. He opened the wall panel and found a gas leak that his instruments had missed. "How did you know that?" Minho asked. Amazed, Buddy just wagged his tail-like appendage and made his happy purring sound. This kind of thing happened every day now. Buddy could sense problems that human technology couldn't find. He could tell when someone was sick before they felt sick. He even seemed to know when Minho was sad or worried. Engineer Yuna Cheng came to visit Minho in his workshop that afternoon. She found him building something that looked like a backpack. "What's that for?" she asked. "It's a carrier for Buddy," Minho explained. "He gets upset when I have to go places he can't follow. This way he can come with me on maintenance rounds." Yuna looked around the workshop. Buddy was sitting in the corner, organizing Minho's tools by size and type. The little creature was very careful, using his claws-like fingers to pick up each tool. "This is either the most adorable thing I've ever seen," Yuna said, "or the most terrifying. I can't decide which." "He's just a baby," Minho said, testing the straps on the carrier. "Come here, Buddy. Let's try this on." Buddy ran over and sat still while Minho put the carrier on him. The carrier had clear sides so Buddy could see out, and air holes so he could breathe easily. "How does that feel?" Minho asked. Buddy made his happy purring sound and nuzzled Minho's hand. But not everyone on the station was happy about the situation. In the main conference room, Captain Taiwan Lee was having a meeting with the station commanders. "The other species are starting to complain," he said, reading from his tablet. "The Thoraxian Collective has filed an official complaint about humans keeping dangerous pets. The Zilani Council wants to know why we're not following proper containment protocols." Dr. Hannah Kim sat at the table looking tired. She had been getting angry messages from the Galactic Science Council every day. "What am I supposed to tell them?" she asked. "That we tried to separate them, and Buddy nearly destroyed half the station. That had happened 3 days ago. Dr. Sunho had thought it would be good for Buddy to spend some time away from Minho, to become more independent. They had tried to keep Buddy in his room while Minho worked in another part of the station. Buddy's distress had been so intense that his psychic screaming had broken every piece of electronic equipment within 50 meters. The lights had exploded. Computers had crashed. 3 people had fainted from the psychic pressure. "The creature's emotional bond with Park is too strong," Dr. Sunho reported. "Separation causes it extreme stress, which triggers its defensive abilities. So we can't separate them?" Captain Taiwan asked. "Not without risking serious damage to the station," Dr. Hannah admitted. Meanwhile, in his quarters, Minho was getting ready for bed. Buddy had his own small bed now, but he preferred to sleep curled up next to Minho. "You know, boy," Minho said, brushing Buddy's fur, "people are getting worried about us." Buddy looked up at him with his 6 blue eyes. The creature's psychic field washed over Minho with feelings of love and trust. "I know you trust me," Minho said softly, "and I'll take care of you. But some people think you're dangerous." Buddy made a small whimpering sound and pressed closer to Minho. "Don't worry," Minho said, patting his head. "I won't let anyone take you away." The next morning brought new challenges. A group of scientists from the Galactic Safety Commission arrived on the station. They wanted to study Buddy and determine if he was safe to keep around humans. "The creature must be tested," announced Dr. Vex, the lead inspector. He was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 4 arms. Vorthoks are classified as class-dangerous predators. "This situation is unprecedented," Dr. Hannah tried to explain. "The Vorthok has shown no aggressive behavior toward humans. In fact, it seems to have developed enhanced intelligence through its bond with our engineer. That makes it more dangerous, not less," Dr. Vex replied coldly. "A smarter predator is a deadlier predator." The meeting was interrupted when alarms started ringing throughout the station. Captain Taiwan's voice came over the speakers. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Unknown ships approaching the station. They're not responding to our signals. All security teams report to stations." Through the meeting room windows, they could see dark ships approaching. The ships had the jagged design of Kravik pirates, some of the most violent criminals in the galaxy. "They're targeting our research labs," someone reported over the radio. "They want our specimens." In his workshop, Minho felt Buddy suddenly go rigid. The creature's crystal spines began to glow brighter than ever before. A low, dangerous growl came from deep in his throat. "What is it, Buddy?" Minho asked. But he already knew. Buddy's enhanced senses had detected the approaching danger. And for the first time since they had bonded, Minho saw something in Buddy's eyes that reminded him that his gentle pet was, in fact, a galactic apex predator. The pirates had no idea what they were about to face, because nobody, absolutely nobody, threatens a Vorthax family and lives to tell about it. The Kravik pirate ships hit the station like angry hornets. Their weapons blasted holes in the outer walls, and within minutes, armed pirates were pouring through the broken sections. Captain Taiwan Lee ran through the hallways, shouting orders into his radio: "All civilians to the emergency shelters. Security teams, protect the main labs." The pirates were big, ugly creatures with thick armor and powerful weapons. They had come to steal the valuable research animals and sell them to the highest bidder. They expected an easy fight against a peaceful research station. They had no idea what was waiting for them. In his workshop, Minho grabbed his emergency kit and started toward the shelter areas. But Buddy wasn't following him. The young voice stood perfectly still, his 6 eyes glowing brighter than Minho had ever seen them. The crystal spines on Buddy's back were now standing straight up, but not from fear. This was something else, something dangerous. "Come on, Buddy," Minho said. "We need to get to safety." But Buddy made a sound that Minho had never heard before. It was deep and rumbling, like thunder before a storm. The creature's psychic field, which usually felt warm and friendly, now felt sharp and cold. "Buddy," Minho said, worried. Then he understood. Buddy's enhanced senses could feel everything happening on the station. He knew that bad people were hurting Minho's friends. And in Buddy's simple mind, that meant one thing: someone was threatening his family. The transformation was incredible to watch. Buddy, who had been a playful pet just moments before, changed into something that looked like nature's perfect killer. His muscles grew tense. His claws extended to their full length. His psychic field spread out like invisible fire. "Oh no," Minho whispered. "Buddy, you need to calm down." But it was too late. Buddy was no longer the baby that Minho fed and played with. This was a Vorthok in full predator mode, and his only thought was protecting the human he loved. Buddy ran toward the door, moving faster than Minho had ever seen him move. His claws made sparks on the metal floor. "Wait," Minho called, running after him. "Buddy, come back." Down in Corridor 7, 3 Kravik pirates were smashing their way into a research lab. They wore thick battle armor and carried weapons that could blast through walls. "Find the valuable specimens," growled their leader, a huge pirate with scars all over his face. "The boss wants those rare animals alive." The pirates broke down the lab door and stepped inside. They were looking around for cages when they heard a sound that made their blood freeze. It was a growl, but not like any growl they had ever heard. It was deep and musical and full of deadly promise. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. "What was that?" whispered one of the pirates. The answer came from the ceiling. Buddy dropped down from an air vent like a shadow made of claws and fury. The pirates barely had time to look up before he was among them. What happened next was not a fight. It was a lesson in why Vorthoks were the most feared hunters in the galaxy. Buddy moved like liquid lightning. His crystal claws cut through the pirate's armor like it was made of paper. His psychic field hit them with waves of pure terror that made their weapons fall from their shaking hands. But the most amazing thing was that Buddy didn't kill them. Even in his fury, some part of him remembered Minho's gentle lessons about being kind. Instead of using his deadly claws to hurt them badly, he knocked them unconscious and left them tied up with torn pieces of their own clothes. Lieutenant Dong-Yoon Kim from the security team arrived just in time to see Buddy finish with the last pirate. The young officer stared in amazement as the Vorthok sat calmly next to three unconscious criminals. Did that creature just save the lab?" Dong-Yoon asked into his radio. Before anyone could answer, Minho came running down the hallway. "Buddy, there you are." He stopped when he saw the unconscious pirates. "Oh, you've been busy." Buddy ran to Minho and pressed against his legs, purring loudly. His crystal spines were flat against his back again, and his eyes had returned to their normal gentle blue glow. "Good boy," Minho said, though he wasn't sure if he should be proud or worried. "But next time, wait for me, okay?" The same scene was happening all over the station. Wherever pirates tried to break in, Buddy appeared. Like a guardian angel made of claws and crystals, he moved through the air vents and maintenance tunnels, appearing wherever he was needed most. In the main computer center, two pirates were trying to steal research data when Buddy dropped down behind them. They turned around and found themselves face to face with 6 glowing eyes and a mouthful of crystal teeth. "Nice kitty," one of them said, hopefully. Buddy tilted his head and made a soft chirping sound. Then he gently but firmly pinned both pirates to the floor until security arrived. In the medical bay, pirates were threatening Dr. Hannah Kim when Buddy appeared in the doorway. This time, his psychic field carried a very clear message. "Leave the doctor alone." The pirates took one look at him and surrendered immediately. "I give up," shouted their leader. "Whatever that thing is, we don't want to fight it." Captain Taiwan found Minho in the main hallway an hour later. The station was secure, and all the pirates were locked up. Buddy was sitting next to Minho, looking very pleased with himself. "Your pet just single-handedly defeated an entire pirate fleet," Captain Taiwan said, shaking his head. "How is that even possible?" "He's not really my pet," Minho said, scratching behind Buddy's ears. "His family protects each other." Dr. Vex from the Galactic Safety Commission stood nearby, looking shocked. He had watched the whole battle through the security cameras. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "The creature didn't kill anyone. It could have easily destroyed all the pirates, but instead, it chose to capture them safely. This level of control, ... It's unprecedented." "Buddy's a good boy," Minho said simply. "He knows right from wrong." As if to prove his point, Buddy walked over to Dr. Vex and gently headbutted his hand. The cold, serious inspector actually smiled. "Perhaps," Dr. Vex said slowly, "we need to reconsider our understanding of what makes a creature dangerous." Later that evening, Minho sat in his quarters, brushing Buddy's fur. The young Vorthok was tired after his big day of being a hero. "You know what this means, don't you?" Minho told him. "Now, everyone's going to want to study us. They're going to want to understand how you became so smart and gentle." Buddy made his happy purring sound and nuzzled closer to Minho. "But whatever happens," Minho continued, "we're in this together. You're my family now, and I'm yours. Outside Minho's window, the stars shone peacefully. The pirate ships had been captured, and the station was safe. But word of what happened was already spreading across the galaxy. A human had raised a Vorthok that chose protection over destruction. Creature bred for killing had learned to show mercy, and every species in the galaxy wanted to know how it was possible. 3 days after the pirate attack, the biggest diplomatic ship in the galaxy arrived at Harmony's Rest. The ship knew Sol was so large it blocked out the stars when it docked with the station. Ambassador Nari Choi stepped off the ship wearing the official blue robes of the Galactic Federation. She was followed by a team of scientists, lawyers, and security guards. Her face was serious as she walked through the station hallways. "Where is this human and his creature?" she asked Captain Taiwan Lee. "There in the main conference room, ma'am," Captain Taiwan replied. "But I should warn you, they're very close. Any attempt to separate them could be dangerous." Ambassador Choi had read the reports, but she found them hard to believe. A human had somehow trained a baby Vorthok to be gentle and protective instead of violent and deadly. The whole galaxy was talking about it. Some species were amazed, others were terrified. The Thoraxian Collective had filed an official complaint, saying that humans were weaponizing apex predators. 3 other species were demanding that all Vorthoks be destroyed before humans could turn them into super soldiers. When Ambassador Choi entered the conference room, she stopped in surprise. Minho was sitting at the table wearing his regular work clothes. Next to him, Buddy was sitting in a specially made chair. Looking around the room with curious eyes, the young Vorthok was now the size of a large dog. His crystal spines caught the light and sparkled like blue diamonds. When he saw the ambassador, he made a friendly chirping sound. "Ambassador Choi," Dr. Hannah Kim said, standing up. "Thank you for coming. This is Minho Park, and Buddy, it has a name," Ambassador Choi asked, staring at the creature. He, Minho, corrected gently. "And yes, his name is Buddy. Would you like to meet him?" Ambassador Choi had met with kings and queens from 100 different worlds. She had negotiated peace treaties and trade agreements. But she had never been introduced to an apex predator before. "Is it safe?" she asked. "Buddy's never hurt anyone," Minho said. "Even when he was protecting the station, he was careful not to seriously injure the pirates." Buddy seemed to understand that they were talking about him. He climbed down from his chair and walked slowly toward the ambassador. His crystal spines were flat against his back, showing that he was calm and friendly. Ambassador Choi stood very still as the young Vorthok approached her. When Buddy gently touched her hand with his nose, she gasped in surprise. "His psychic field," she whispered, "it feels warm, safe. That's how he always feels to people he likes," Minho explained. Dr. Kyung-soo opened her tablet and showed the ambassador her research. "What we're seeing here goes against everything we thought we knew about Vorthok psychology. This creature's brain has developed in ways that should be impossible." "How so?" Ambassador Choi asked, still staring at Buddy. "Normal Vorthoks have simple thoughts: hunt, fight, survive. But Buddy can solve complex problems. He can understand human emotions. He can even predict what people need before they ask for it." Professor Guan Park from Earth's Xenological Institute had arrived on the diplomatic ship. He was an old man with gray hair and kind eyes. "Ambassador," he said, "I've been studying human-animal bonds for 50 years. What we're seeing here is the same thing that happened on Earth thousands of years ago, but accelerated and enhanced." "What do you mean?" Ambassador Choi asked. "On Earth, humans turned wild wolves into loyal dogs. We turned wild cats into house pets. We even made friends with animals that could kill us, like horses and elephants. But that process took thousands of years. Somehow, Minho has done the same thing with a Vorthok in just a few weeks. But how is that possible?" Professor Giwon smiled. "Humans have something special, the ability to see potential in other creatures. We don't just see what something is, we see what it could become. And somehow, that belief changes the creatures we bond with." The formal hearing began that afternoon. Representatives from 12 different species attended by video link. The room was full of alien faces on screens, all asking questions at once. "This creature could be trained as a weapon," shouted a Thoraxian representative. "What if it breeds? What if all Vorthax become this intelligent?" demanded a Zalani counselor. "How do we know the human isn't controlling it with some kind of mind power?" asked a Quixian scientist. Ambassador Choi raised her hand for silence. "We will hear testimony from all parties before making any decisions." Dr. Hannah Kim spoke first. "Buddy has shown no aggressive behavior toward any sentient being. In fact, he seems to have developed a strong moral sense, an understanding of right and wrong that we've never seen in a wild Vortex." Dr. Vex from the Galactic Safety Commission spoke next. "While the creature appears safe now, we must consider the long-term implications. What happens when it reaches full size? Adult Vortex can grow to be 12 feet tall. Buddy will always..." "Be gentle," Minho said, when it was his turn to speak. "He's not a weapon or a tool, he's family." But the most impressive moment came when Buddy himself seemed to understand that his future was being decided. The young Vorthok stood up and walked to the center of the room. For a moment, he was quiet. Then his psychic field expanded to fill the entire room. Every person present felt the same thing. A wave of pure, innocent love and trust. Ambassador Choi found tears running down her face. Around the room, hardened diplomats and scientists were also crying. What was that?" Ambassador Choi asked. "That's how he sees us," Minho explained, his own voice shaky with emotion. "He loves everyone. He trusts everyone. He wants to protect everyone." The Thoraxian representative on the screen was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "In 50 years of diplomatic service, I have never felt anything like that. Was like being hugged by hope itself." One by one, the other species representatives changed their minds. How could they destroy something capable of such pure love? Ambassador Choi stood up slowly. "Based on what I've witnessed today, I am recommending the establishment of the Park Protocol, new guidelines for human-alien species bonding programs." "What does that mean?" Minho asked. "It means," Ambassador Choi said with a smile, "that you and Buddy are officially recognized as the galaxy's first interspecies family unit, and we want to learn from your success." Buddy seemed to understand that something good had happened. He ran to Minho and jumped into his arms, purring loudly. "So we can stay together?" Minho asked. "Forever," Ambassador Choi confirmed. "In fact, we'd like you to help us establish similar programs throughout the galaxy. There are other orphaned predator species that might benefit from human care." As the meeting ended, Professor Giwon approached Minho privately. "You know what you've done, don't you? You've proven that love is stronger than instinct. That nurture can overcome nature. You've changed the galaxy's understanding of what's possible." Minho looked down at Buddy, who was contentedly chewing on a toy. "I just wanted to help a scared baby, and in doing so," Professor Giwon said, "you've given us all hope for a gentler future." Outside the station's windows, more ships were arriving. Scientists, diplomats, and families from across the galaxy, all wanting to learn about the human who had turned a monster into a miracle. 6 months after Ambassador Choi's visit, Harmony's Rest looked completely different. The research station had become the most famous place in the galaxy. Ships arrived every day bringing scientists, families, and orphaned creatures from across the known worlds. Dr. Sunho Kim stood in his new office, watching through the window as humans and alien creatures played together in the station's expanded recreation area. He was now the director of the Interspecies Family Program, the most successful project in galactic history. "Status report," he said into his tablet. 17 new successful bondings this month, reported Dr. Yuna Chang, who had become his assistant. Director, the human family from Kepler 442, just successfully bonded with twin Shadowclaw cubs. The Martinez family from Lunar Colony has been matched with a young crystal wing. In the recreation area, 8-year-old Jiho Kim was playing fetch with a creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a dragon. The thunderbeast was supposed to be one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy, but it was gently carrying a ball back to the laughing human child. "How many families are on the waiting list?" Dr. Sunho asked. "Over 3,000, Yuna replied. "Everyone wants to adopt an apex predator now." It had started small. After news of Minho and Buddy spread across the galaxy, other humans had volunteered to care for orphaned predator species. To everyone's amazement, the same bonding pattern happened again and again. Humans seemed to have a special gift for connecting with creatures that other species found too dangerous to handle. Within weeks, there were dozens of human families caring for baby apex predators. Within months, there were thousands. Minho walked through the main corridor carrying his toolkit. Buddy trotted beside him, now fully grown and magnificent. The Vorthok stood 4 feet tall at the shoulder, his crystal spines gleaming like blue fire. His 6 eyes had the wisdom of an adult, but they still lit up with joy whenever he saw Minho. Morning. Minho called Engineer Taeon Park, who was walking with his own partner, a sleek voidcrawler named Shadow. "Ready for today's tour?" "As ready as we can be," Minho replied. "How many visitors this time?" 50 delegates from the Outer Rim. Territories. They want to see if the program can work on their frontier planets. The delegation tour began in Conference Room 1, where Dr. Hannah Kim gave her standard presentation. She had given this same talk hundreds of times, but she still got excited talking about their success. "When we first discovered the human predator bonding phenomenon," she said to the assembled delegates, "we thought it was just a lucky accident. But now we understand that humans have a unique psychological trait, the ability to see potential in other species." A delegate from the Spiral Arm Coalition raised her hand. "But how do you ensure safety? These are still dangerous creatures." Before Dr. Hannah could answer, Buddy walked to the front of the room. The delegates tensed nervously as the massive Vorthok approached them. But instead of showing aggression, Buddy sat down and began to demonstrate the tricks Minho had taught him. He sorted objects by color and size. He solved simple puzzles. He even drew basic shapes on a tablet, using his claws. But, most impressive of all, when one of the delegates accidentally dropped her papers, Buddy carefully gathered them up and returned them to her with a gentle bow. "As you can see," Dr. Hannah continued, "these creatures haven't just been tamed. They've been elevated. The bonding process seems to enhance their intelligence and emotional development far beyond normal levels." The tour continued through the family quarters, where human parents lived with their adopted predator children. They visited the Kong family, where parents, Minseo and Ji-hoon, were raising 3 young nightmare cats, creatures that had once been considered impossible to approach. "They're just like regular children," Minseo explained to the delegates. "They need love, attention, and guidance. The only difference is that when they're upset, we have to be more careful about the furniture." As if on cue, one of the nightmare cats accidentally knocked over a chair while playing. The creature immediately stopped and carefully put the chair back in place. Then looked at its human parents with apologetic eyes. "Good boy, Midnight," Ji-hoon said, patting the creature's head. "Remember what we said about being gentle indoors?" The delegates watched in amazement as the fearsome predator purred with happiness at the praise. But the most moving part of the tour came when they visited the nursery. Here, the youngest orphaned creatures were cared for by specially trained human volunteers until they could be matched with permanent families. Volunteer caregiver Soyeon Lee was feeding a baby starfire phoenix, a creature whose adult form could burn through starship hulls. In her arms, it looked like a fuzzy ball of golden light, making soft chirping sounds as it drank from a bottle. "This little one's parents were killed by poachers," Soyeon explained sadly. "She was found floating in space, barely alive. But look at her now." The baby phoenix opened its eyes and looked at the delegates with innocent curiosity. When one delegate reached out her finger, the phoenix gently nuzzled it with its tiny beak. "We have placement applications for her from 12 different human families," Soyeon continued. "She never lacked for love. By the end of the tour, most of the delegates had tears in their eyes. The delegate from the Spiral Arm Coalition spoke. For the group, we came here expecting to see a dangerous experiment. Instead, we've witnessed a miracle. How soon can we establish our own programs? That evening, Minho sat in his quarters reading the daily reports. Buddy was curled up next to him, using his massive head as a pillow while Minho worked. Listen to this, boy, Minho said. The Andromedans want to start a program with void sharks. The Centauri Federation is asking about crystal bears. Even the Thoraxians want to try bonding with shadowweavers. Buddy made his happy purring sound and nuzzled closer to Minho. And look at this, Minho continued, showing Buddy a photograph on his tablet. Remember the Thunderbeast cubs that were too aggressive for anyone to handle? 3 of them have been adopted by human families, and they're all doing great. The photograph showed a human child riding on the back of a creature that could have torn apart a tank, both of them laughing with pure joy. You know what the best part is? Minho asked, scratching behind Buddy's ear fins. Every family says the same thing we discovered. These creatures don't just become our pets. They become our children. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Minho opened it to find a video from the Outer Rim territories. A human colonist named David Chen was holding a baby creature that looked like a mix between a wolf and a dragon. Mr. Park, the man said in the video, I wanted to thank you. 6 months ago, our colony was being terrorized by wild, dire wolves. They killed our livestock and threatened our children. Then we tried your approach. Instead of fighting them, we rescued their orphaned cubs and raised them with love. Now those same direwolves protect our colony from other predators. My daughter Luna has bonded with a cub we call Storm, and they're inseparable. You've shown us that the answer to fear isn't more weapons, it's more love. Minho closed the tablet and looked at Buddy, who was now fast asleep but still purring softly. You hear that, boy? We've changed the galaxy. Instead of being afraid of apex predators, people are adopting them as family members. Instead of hunting them to extinction, we're helping them evolve into something better. Through his window, Minho could see the stars stretching out to infinity. Somewhere among those stars, thousands of human families were tucking their adopted predator children into bed. Somewhere out there, creatures that had once been monsters were learning to be gentle because someone had shown them love. Not bad for a maintenance engineer who just wanted to help a scared baby, Minho whispered. Buddy opened one sleepy eye and looked at him with an expression that seemed to say, You're the best dad in the galaxy. And as Minho drifted off to sleep, next to his beloved adopted son, he knew that sometimes the most important discoveries happen not in laboratories or battlefields, but in the simple act of caring for someone who needs you. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly how it should be.